Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss whether Rishi Sunak's move to promote 30p Lee Anderson to the position of Deputy Party Chair of the Conservative Party is actually a cunning move or one that he will come to regret. After today's little disasters, it could actually be either. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So when Rishi Sunak made Lee Anderson Deputy Chair, it certainly raised some eyebrows. It's not a position in government. So I said when I discussed Sunak's reshuffle, I don't really consider the appointment to be a massive issue for me. As a citizen who's not a member of the Conservative Party, the position of party chair, that's different because that confers a seat in cabinet to the appointment. So that is a matter of public interest. But if Sunak wants to appoint a politically dead man walk into a senior position within his party's hierarchy, well, that's sort of up to him and the party members. There is a slight caveat in that because it raises his profile and he ends up doing more interviews like he did today, then, there is a little bit of public interest there. But regardless of whether or not I think it's really, any concern of mine, it doesn't mean I don't find the situation very interesting. Today, people have been citing Anderson's interview, and I'll link both a clip and the full interview down below if you want to listen to it. And saying, we thought he might last a few weeks. He probably only last a few days here. It's not immediately clear whether Lee Anderson's appointment is going to be beneficial to Sunak or not. It easily could be. Because what I'm interested in is it a strategically sound or a stupid move from Sunak? I don't think we really know. See, this morning, Anderson did what we expect him to do on his interview. He viewed what he knows are divisive remarks in an interview. I don't even know. He spoke out in favour of capital punishment, saying that nobody executed ever reoffended. As a senior barrister remarks, the issue with that logic is that it means you have to execute the current and former Prime Minister. And given that the current Prime Minister has reoffended, he's got caught breaking the law twice in as many years, that we get on with it. Of course, as people have more seriously pointed out, no conviction is ever 100% safe. Never. So, sometimes years later, you found out what you thought was a safe conviction actually was a miscarriage of justice. So support for capital punishment is ultimately support for the state killing of innocent people, because some innocent people will be killed. Just like some innocent people face very serious sentences for being wrongly convicted of very serious crimes. But this video isn't about the stupidity of such a view. I don't even know that Lee Anderson actually believes in capital punishment. I really have no idea. He could just be saying it, because he's playing a part, the pantomime villain for the Tory party. It's really about whether giving Anderson a platform to speak on a more formal footing for the party is a mistake, or is it a good move? For example, when Anderson made his comments this morning, Rishi Sunak immediately made clear that this was not the view of the government, that he was not speaking about official government policy. So you immediately have Sunak slapping Anderson down for his views only 2 days into the job. But it also generates distractions. All it takes is for some media outlet to commission a poll now. The Daily Mail will be absolutely top of the tree. Especially they'll frame it in such a way that it'll show us a majority of certain voters in favour. And the Tory press can throw dead cats all over their front pages to distract people from the real news. I mean, they don't need a particular excuse right now because the earthquake tragedy in Syria and Turkey, Zelensky's visit, that's giving them ample reason to report on what is news, but allowing them to distract from the ongoing cost of living crisis or the escalating industrial action over public service pay. From this point of view, Sunak will be getting good value out of Lee Anderson, even as a result of this morning's interview. In fact, there are 3 reasons why it could be a good move for Sunak. First is, as I say, he can do interviews, he can poke at some divisive topics to distract people from the more important issues. He can even be told to do it on demand when the government thinks there might be unfavourable news being reported. Oh, Lee, there's likely to be this report coming up in a couple of days. It's going to be a little bit tricky for us. Can you go on the news and say that everyone who eats asparagus is an arsehole or something? Yeah, sure, I'll do that for you. Second, Anderson has spent the past couple of months actively trying to raise his profile on social media. It's been fairly obvious. If it's not a case of trying to find employment on GBBs or some other outlet when he inevitably loses his seat at the next election, then I'd be very surprised indeed. This position of deputy chair raises Anderson's profile and makes it easier for him to promote himself. In theory, you might say that his position means he has to be more careful about what he says, because people will take his statements to be on behalf of the party, not just himself. Hence, every time he says something like this, Sunak's going to have to come out and go, no, that's not party policy. But as today has shown, he doesn't show signs of adapting his behaviour to the role. So Anderson will be loving this, as it can only help him find that future employment, those future earnings that he's hankering after. After all, let's be honest, the last thing he wants to do is to go back to earning the sort of below average salary that he reckons it's dead easy to live on. But how is this a benefit to Sunak? Well, because if it's a benefit to Anderson, it keeps him in line, at least in regard to Sunak's position. Anderson was a vocal supporter of Boris Johnson, even after Johnson stepped down. Well, he can't carp from the sidelines anymore. Sunak's the party leader, so Anderson supports Sunak. What he can't do is agitate against the Prime Minister and keep his position. If he wants to be deputy chair, if he enjoys being deputy chair, right, so you're back in Sunak now. So while Anderson finds this position beneficial, Sunak has taken out a vocal Johnson supporter. The third benefit is it shores up a little bit of support amongst people who wouldn't necessarily see Sunak as someone to back. Very few politicians are able to win support amongst all of the groups of voters they need to win over. So it's quite normal to appoint people who can sort of cover your blind spots. Anderson paints himself as appealing to the thick racists in the north of England. He can try and convince them to vote Tory by persuading them that they should be more outraged at small boat crossings or human rights or something than having a government that won't let you afford to be able to eat every day or be warm in winter. In theory, strategically sound move by Sunak. For once, it's not a good move when trying to make the party appear serious, but that ship's probably sailed. But there are some flaws with the plan that might still end up making it a decision Sunak comes to regret. First of all, Anderson is pretty bad at politics. During this interview this morning, he was tackled about the deception he tried to pull some time ago. So he recorded himself, for those who don't know. He was persuading a friend of his to pretend to be a swing voter so he could have a conversation with them being filmed and pretend he was really brilliant as a candidate, winning people over. And he got caught out because it was all filmed. It was something he should have known would come up at some point. He should have had his defence ready, because the position has raised his profile, but it's also increased the glare of the spotlight on him, because he's no longer just he is still a backbencher in terms of Parliament, in terms of government. He's not a member of the government, very important to note. But in the party's hierarchy, he's now got a higher profile, harsher spotlight. And I do recommend listening to the interview clip I've posted. It was bad before the interview even brought the big guns out. And all he could do was sort of say to the interviewer, "Oh, have you ever told a lie? Have you ever told a lie?" Now, I will say that the interviewer messed up here, because she kept saying, "Well, I'm not talking about me, we're talking about you." But actually, she could have shot him down immediately. All she had to do was say, "No, I've never lied to the public as part of my job. I have never lied in public service." Now, you have, so let's get back onto that. All she had to say, because on a personal level, obviously people tell lies. I'll lie about, oh, I ain't got you anything for your birthday. Just kidding. But, in terms of deceiving members of the public, especially in official capacity, all she had to do is say, "No, I haven't done that, ever, and I never will." That would have been the end of it. Not that this will be a problem if he gets a gig on GBBs next year, because he'll be the one controlling the narrative then. So he won't get awkward questions. He'll be the one asking the questions, won't he? But it could be a problem for Sunak if he keeps putting his foot in it. If all Sunak can do is keep putting people who are really bad at interviews on the air, then this could still backfire on him. But regardless, as I say, it was a really bad interview, which exposed his complete lack of savvy when it comes to dealing with difficult questions. Anderson, he might think he's a great politician because, he's made a name for himself. He's now deputy chair of the party. He only joined a few years ago after getting kicked out by Labour. he may not be self-aware enough to know that he's just a useful idiot. You know, he's someone from a humble background, so therefore a very useful puppet for the Tories. Someone who is unlikely to have financial skeletons in his closet. He hasn't been rich enough to fiddle HMRC out of tens of millions of pounds. Didn't go to a posh private school. Someone they can use to appeal to ordinary voters. Look, ordinary voters, you can vote Tory because some of you are Tories. You know, albeit the thick racist ones, and convince them that they're not just the party of the ultra-wealthy and the privileged. Anderson may think that he's actually skilled and he's using this experience to inflate his ego to the point where he actually just really gets caught out because he thinks he can do no wrong. Or maybe he knows, maybe he is aware, maybe he knows he's a useful idiot and he's quite happy to play the role for cash. Also, although Anderson may appeal to some of the Tories' red wall voters in the north of England, what if he turns off a different group of key voters in the southern marginals? Because the bottom line is, he's not likely to help the Tories regain control of the red wall, or retain, I should say, really. So he may boost their polling figures a little bit, but ultimately to not really much, if any, effect. But what if he costs them enough votes in the south, in marginals in the south, to actually lose them seats? You know, there's certainly risks here in appointing clowns of any kind to senior positions, whether in government or just the party, because you have to. Is Anderson a rodeo clown, you know, saving the Prime Minister's skin when he's in trouble, or is he more like one of those creepy clowns in horror stories that's going to murder Sunak's career in his sleep? Was it a cunning move from Sunak? Or was it just another example of following the same sort of advice that makes sense at the time that persuaded him to film himself breaking the law in a moving car a few weeks ago and then posting it online for millions to see? But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.